Ever felt totally lost, chasing big dreams but clueless about where to start? That was me at the beginning of last year, stuck in a cycle of procrastination, overwhelm, and self-doubt. I honestly thought I'd never get my act together. But then, something clicked, and it flipped my whole approach upside down. Tiny steps and a game-changing mindset led me to achievements I never thought possible in just 1 year. How did I pull it off, even when motivation was nowhere to be found? Stick around to find out. This journey might just surprise you and spark your own transformation. Right after that moment of feeling utterly lost, chasing big dreams but clueless about where to start, as I mentioned, I was drowning in a mess of my own making at the beginning of last year. Picture this. I had these huge, shiny goals, the kind that make your heart race with excitement, but every single time I tried to take a step forward, I'd freeze. I'd sit there staring at my to-do list, and instead of diving in, I'd find a million excuses to put it off. Scrolling through my phone, binge-watching shows, or telling myself, I'll start tomorrow. Tomorrow never came, though. The more I procrastinated, the more overwhelmed I felt, like I was trying to climb a mountain with no gear, no map, and no clue where the top even was. It was a vicious cycle, and the worst part? I started doubting myself hard. I'd lie awake at night, wondering if I'd ever really change, if I'd ever be the kind of person who could actually make things happen. That self-doubt was a heavy weight, pressing down on every spark of ambition I had, making me feel like I was destined to stay stuck forever. It wasn't just the procrastination that got me. It was the way I kept setting these massive, intimidating goals without a real plan. I'd say things like, I'm going to completely transform my life by summer, but I had no idea what that actually meant day to day. Every time I failed to hit those big, vague targets, I'd give up, feeling like a total failure. The frustration was real, and it chipped away at my confidence bit by bit. I'd look at other people crushing it, posting their wins online, talking about their big breakthroughs, and I'd think, why can't I get it together like that? It felt like I was on the outside looking in, watching everyone else move forward while I was stuck in quicksand, sinking deeper with every half-hearted attempt. That sense of being lost wasn't just a fleeting feeling, it was my whole reality, a constant loop of dreaming big but doing nothing, and it set the stage for the wake-up call I so desperately needed. How was I going to break free from this rut? That's the question that kept me up at night, and it's what makes the rest of this journey so wild. After being stuck in that frustrating loop of procrastination and self-doubt, where I felt lost chasing big dreams with no real progress, as I described, the turning point finally hit me like a lightning bolt. I realized I'd been going about it all wrong, and that epiphany tied directly to the mess I was in. I'd been so fixated on the big, shiny end result, like transforming my life overnight, that I completely ignored the small daily steps that actually build the path to get there. It was like trying to sprint a marathon without training. No wonder I kept crashing and burning. So I decided to flip the script. Instead of staring at these massive, intimidating goals, I started breaking them down into tiny, bite-sized pieces that didn't scare the hell out of me. For example, instead of saying, I'll get fit this year, I'd tell myself, I'll walk for 10 minutes today. Instead of, I'll write a book, it became, I'll write 1 paragraph this morning. Those little steps felt doable, and that made all the difference. But it wasn't just about shrinking the goals. I had to build routines that actually worked for me. I started setting aside specific times each day for these small tasks, like a morning ritual of sipping coffee while I wrote that 1 paragraph, or a quick evening walk to clear my head. At first, it was messy. I'd miss days, slip back into old habits, and feel that familiar wave of overwhelm creeping in. But here's the thing. I didn't give up this time. I kept tweaking my approach, figuring out what stuck and what didn't, until those tiny actions started to feel like second nature. Slowly but surely, I began to see progress, real, tangible progress. That paragraph turned into a page, then a chapter. Those 10-minute walks became 30-minute jogs, It wasn't perfect, and I wasn't perfect, but I was moving forward, and that felt like a win I hadn't known in ages. This shift in focus, from obsessing over the finish line to embracing the daily grind, tied right back to my earlier struggle. I'd been so overwhelmed because I was trying to leap to the top of the mountain in one jump. But by taking it one step at a time, I started climbing. And that's what set me up for the surprising wins that came next. How far could these small steps really take me? That's what kept me going. Building on that shift in mindset, where I started breaking goals into tiny steps and creating routines that worked, finally seeing progress after feeling so stuck. I found myself at the end of the year in a place I never thought I'd be. Those small, consistent actions I'd been working on, as I mentioned, started to add up in ways that blew my mind. By December, I had accomplished more than I ever thought possible, and it wasn't because I suddenly turned into some productivity superhero. Far from it. I still had off days, moments where I'd rather scroll through my phone than stick to my routine. But the difference was, I'd learned how to stay consistent even when motivation was nowhere to be found. That was the real game changer. For instance, those 10-minute walks I started with, they turned into a solid running habit, and I ended up finishing a 5K race. Something I'd have laughed off as impossible a year ago. That one paragraph a day? It became a 50,000-word draft of a novel I'd always dreamed of writing. These weren't just checked boxes. They were proof that I could actually do this. What made it all click was realizing that consistency didn't mean perfection. I didn't have to be on every single day. I just had to show up more often than I didn't. On days when I felt like garbage, I'd still do the bare minimum, like writing a single sentence or walking around the block, and that kept the momentum going. This tied directly back to the routines I'd built in that second step. By focusing on small, manageable pieces, I'd created a system that could weather the ups and downs of motivation. I wasn't relying on willpower anymore. I was leaning on habits that I'd carved out through trial and error. The progress wasn't always linear. Some weeks I'd backslide, and old doubts would creep in, whispering that I'd never keep this up. But every time I stuck to my routine, even imperfectly, I proved those doubts wrong. By the end of the year, I wasn't just looking at a list of things I'd done. I was looking at a version of myself I didn't think I'd ever meet, someone who could set a goal and actually follow through. So what was the secret sauce behind this transformation? That's the lesson that hit me hardest, and it's what I'll unpack next. After reaching the end of the year with achievements I never thought possible, thanks to the consistency I'd built through small daily steps as I shared, I started reflecting on what really made this transformation stick, tying directly to those wins I'd racked up. The biggest lesson I learned wasn't some flashy secret or a magic productivity hack. It was something way simpler, but so powerful. You don't have to feel ready to start. I used to think I needed the perfect moment, the right mood, or a burst of motivation to get going. I'd wait for days, weeks even, telling myself, I'll start when I'm ready. But that moment never came. What I realized, after seeing how far those small steps had taken me, was that waiting for the right time was just another excuse to procrastinate. The truth is, the only way to get anywhere is to take those first shaky steps, even when you feel unprepared, unmotivated, or scared out of your mind. And here's the kicker. Those small steps, when you take them every day, will carry you further than any burst of inspiration ever could. This lesson tied straight back to the progress I'd made by the end of the year. Every single win, whether it was finishing that 5K or drafting my novel, started with a day where I didn't feel ready, but I did it anyway. I'd write that one sentence even when my brain felt like mush, or lace up my sneakers even when I'd rather stay on the couch. Those moments of showing up, however small, built the momentum that led to my bigger successes. It wasn't about being perfect. It was about being persistent. I learned that action creates motivation, not the other way around. The more I did, the more I wanted to do. And that's what kept me going even on the tough days. Looking back, I could see how waiting for the right moment had kept me stuck for so long, but once I let go of that myth, everything changed. It was like unlocking a door I didn't even know was there. This realization wasn't just a pat on the back. It was a lifeline I wanted to share with anyone else feeling stuck, because I knew how much it hurt to be in that place. So, how did I turn this lesson into a message for others? That's what I felt compelled to do next. With that hard-earned lesson in my pocket, that you don't need to feel ready to start, as I realized after seeing how far small steps took me, I felt a deep urge to share my story, tying directly to the transformative power of that mindset shift. I wanted to open up because I knew firsthand how brutal it can be to feel stuck, to have big dreams but be paralyzed by doubt and procrastination. I'd been there, trapped in that cycle of wanting to change but not knowing how, and it was a lonely, frustrating place. So, I decided to put my journey out there, not because I had all the answers, but because I'd found a way forward that worked for me. A simple plan built on small daily actions and the willingness to take that first step, even when it felt messy or scary. I wanted anyone else feeling lost to know that change is possible. You don't need to be perfect, and you don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to start, however small, and keep going. This drive to share connected right back to the lesson I'd learned about not waiting for the right moment. Every step I took in my own journey, writing that first sentence, taking that first walk, came from ignoring the voice that said, "Wait until you're ready." By sharing my story, I hope to inspire others to silence that same voice in their heads. I knew how easy it was to get stuck overthinking, to let fear of failure stop you before you even begin. But I also knew the magic that happens when you take that leap anyway. My progress wasn't a fluke. It was proof that a plan, paired with action, could break through the stuckness. I wanted others to see that they didn't need to stay trapped. They just needed to start small, build a routine, and trust the process. Change doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen, and I was living proof. By putting my story out there, I hope to light a spark for someone else, to show them that the first step, however tiny, is the key to unlocking their own transformation. And who knows, maybe my story would be the push someone needed to take their own first step. That thought alone made sharing it all worth it. So that's my story, from feeling completely lost to finding my way through small daily steps that led to big wins. It wasn't about being perfect, it was about showing up, even when I didn't feel ready. If I can do it, so can you. Change is possible with just one step at a time. What's the first small step you're going to take toward your dreams? Drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear your story. If this journey inspired you, give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more, and hit that bell so you don't miss the next one.